I don't want to say, I don't like the word luck. I've worked my ass off, man. I've worked really hard. So the connections I made in BMX and doing stunt work, I had a producer reach out and say, hey, I heard you're in tattooing now. Tattooing's going mainstream. Would love to try you out for this like TV series we might be doing. We're shooting a pilot. Can you come out and try it? And I did. I just like went in with a smile, and I went in and just like that same attitude. I'm gonna crush this, and let's try to make this something. And it took off. And then I started getting all these other phone calls coming in. I had nightclubs calling me. I was airbrushing go-go dancers for nightclubs, and my friends were all getting free drinks. Like it was really fun for a few years for sure. And then everything took a twist. I did learn that the lawyers win. You don't win in a lawsuit. So the lawsuit went on and on and on. I ended up winning the intellectual property, but it cost me into the over $100,000 in lawsuit of money I didn't have. At the time, I got a huge tax bill at the end of the year. I was a kid making great money. I didn't expect I'd have to pay so much in taxes. So we lost everything. I told my wife, I'm like, honey, I'm sorry. We have a newborn. You're gonna have to go to work. We can't afford for you to stay home, when you're self-employed. So that was an argument in itself at home. And I'll never forget the day, man. We were looking for daycare, and I was inside the daycare facility to find out, if they'll take on newborns, and the cost was crazy. And I'm emotional, sorry. I was going 140 kilometers an hour, dead on into this car coming on Lake Ridge Road, Country Road in Whitby. And for some reason, I don't know if it was a mirage or if it's true, I saw a kid in the back seat. And I'm like, I can't. I ended up going into a ditch with my car, hyperventilating, crying. I turned around, went to the Whitby Mental Institution, checked myself in. I'm like, I need help. There's something really, really wrong with me. And that was the best day of my life. And I just said, hey, is there any young children that live on the street? How long have you been here? Do you recommend the street? I've got a young family considering moving in here. What do you think about this, right? That family was of a certain ethnicity. So I even asked, is this a multicultural street? Do you think that they'll feel welcome? And I wanted to hit all of these. And guess what happened? They bought the house. Man, I had the neighbors next door come over and bring over a pie and introduce themselves. Why do you think they did that? Because I let them know there's a young family coming in. I made them aware. I went above and beyond, and I wish our agent did that for us.
Mark, how's it going?
Fantastic, John. How about you?
I am fantastic. Also, thanks for coming to chat with me, especially given the fact that we've only met once briefly last week.
Yeah, I think we hit it off though.
Yeah,
we didn't really get to the photo shoot. We were talking so much.
Right. But the stuff that we did talk about, I just found really fascinating. From the point of view of real estate and business and stuff like that, but also your journey, which was not exactly in a straight line to get to real estate. So I'm really keen to kind of get into some of that with you. And I guess let's start by kind of how long have you been in real estate, and what's the experience been like so far?
So my wife's been in real estate 10 years, and I've been helping her build the business on the back end for about 4 years.
Right.
And then trying to put systems in place and help her kind of build a company. And then the last 2 years, I went to school, and then I've actually been in real estate for 4 months now.
Right. Okay. And already you've seen a pretty good response from your network. Now that you've started putting it out there that you're a realtor, is that right?
Yeah. I've hit my sphere of influence. I've hit everybody that I've ever communicated with, and all the people that know, like, and trust you. So right. I've communicated very well with them, and I've got a great rapport. I am a trustworthy person. So in the 4 months, I've already successfully worked on $15 million worth of deals in real estate.
In 4 months, in
Yeah,
your
in four
first
months.
4 months.
Not closed yet, but they're all coming to close.
Right.
Yes. Yeah,
But
in
yeah,
4 months.
that's a pretty accelerated beginning.
Yes, I have a great mentor, my wife,
Right.
but yeah, she's helped me with all the hard stuff, but the sales process, it's been exciting, exhilarating, and I've been here to help everybody actually. Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to ask you a question. I think I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Like, did you always know that you wanted to get into real estate?
Uh, I didn't know that I wanted to get into real estate per se, but I've always been a part of real estate.
Okay.
So it's my grandfather was actually a real estate agent, and I thought he was in the mafia, Italian guy, dressed in a suit all the time in a flashy Lincoln car, driving people around. And I'm like, I didn't know really what he did when I was a kid. And then my dad's a luxury home builder, so he used to rip down properties in the beaches, and then he'd build like $2 to $4 million properties.
Right.
So I did help with the construction process as a kid with my dad. So real estate had always been of interest.
Right.
My wife and I also flipped 6 properties in the last 12 years. So I've always been involved, just not actually on the sales side of it.
Right. Well, what else have you been up to then since since you came of age, since you graduated high school, let's say?
I didn't graduate high school.
Okay.
So in high school, I was actually I competed professionally in BMX and mountain bike, mostly BMX freestyle.
Right.
So I would do tricks, do ramps. I travel throughout all the U.S. and Canada and compete. I had sponsors. Now that sounds glorified. We traveled in a van, and I had like a $20 a day budget. And
You
I got
weren't
free
traveling
clothes.
first class.
No. I got a bunch of free clothes. The odd time I'd win a contest, you get about 10 grand, which was huge for a kid, right? I missed a ton of school. And then I ended up doing some TV and stunt work, which kind of paid some bills. And I thought this was the direction that I actually wanted to go in, like little kid living his dreams. So I decided that high school wasn't for me. I wasn't going to finish, and I was going to pursue my dream of being a professional rider. My parents were semi on board with it, but I've broken a lot of bones, and I ended up actually with a brain hemorrhage.
Oh, wow.
So they found bleeding in my brain, and I was having some cognitive issues. So we had to kind of slowly reel that back and come back to realization. And
was that from one specific incident, accident?
Yeah, it was one crash. Yeah.
Right.
So I crashed hard. We thought it was just a concussion, but I started having these like whiteouts. So that was the key word. It wasn't blackouts. The neurologist was like, "Is it white or black?" And I'm like, "No, it's definitely white. Like I can't see." And he goes, "That's blood." So they did MRIs, they did a bunch of scans, and they found a bunch of dried blood in my prefrontal cortex on the right side. Yeah. And they said, "Okay, this isn't something that you want to keep doing." And my parents were really, really concerned. So we started wheeling back, and it was like, we're not going to ride at that level anymore.
Right.
So yeah, through all of that, I didn't graduate high school. So I had like, well, what else am I going to do? I loved getting tattoos. I'm covered in them. And I loved hanging out in tattoo shops. I thought it was cool. A lot of them tattooed me for free and tell everybody to send work that way because
you were the ambassador.
I was the ambassador, yeah. I'd bring all the skaters and all the BMXers over and all the motocross guys. So They loved me, right?
Yeah.
I asked for an apprenticeship, got an apprenticeship at a tattoo shop. And took everything that I knew in BMX, hard work, the coaching, how to like succeed at, becoming a professional athlete. And I was like, I can do that. Yeah. Discipline. I'm like, I can crush tattooing. So yeah, man, I hit the ground running, and then just started, I learned how to tap into sphere of influence. I learned how to go to people that I know, like, and trust. And I started building this database of tattooing. I got really good at it. And I don't want to say luckily, I've worked real hard, but I got in at a great point where it started hitting mainstream. And I got on TV. I got on a reality show. I won a cover-up TV show.
This
called
is
I Hate
as
My
a tattoo artist?
As a tattoo artist, yeah.
Right.
So I opened up a shop at 23 years old. I couldn't afford rent anywhere, so I actually lived in the back of my business.
Wow.
And just like grinded, man. I grinded hard every day, and I started slowly building something. I got a full-time manager to come in and help me, and then started bringing artists in. And then once I started getting on TV, things were like, it was great.
How did that come about, you getting on TV? What was the break that you got?
I got really, I don't want to say, I don't like the word luck. I've worked my ass off, man. I've worked really hard. So the connections I made in BMX and doing stunt work, I had a producer reach out and say, "Hey, I heard you're in tattooing now. Tattooing's going mainstream. Would love to try you out for this like TV series we might be doing. We're shooting a pilot. Can you come out and try it?"
Right.
And I did. I just like went in with a smile, and I went in and just like that same attitude. I'm gonna crush this, and let's try to make this something. And it took off, and then I started getting all these other phone calls coming in. I had nightclubs calling me. I was airbrushing go-go dancers for nightclubs, and my friends were all getting free drinks. Like it was really fun for a few years for sure.
Wow.
And then everything took a twist.
Okay.
So I hit the highlight of everything. My wife and I bought our dream home. I was making crazy money for my age. I had built a business. I had lots of employees. Somebody had taken my business name. They stole my business name, and they opened up a studio with the same name.
In the same area or like?
Same city.
Oh,
Yep,
wow.
same city. Just they were about maybe 20 kilometers from me.
Right.
And so I said, okay, well, my thick head here, let's sue them. Right? Like I'll sue them for intellectual property. Well, I did learn that the lawyers win. You don't win in a lawsuit. Right. So the lawsuit went on and on and on. I ended up winning the intellectual property, but it cost me into the over $100,000 in lawsuit of money I didn't have at the time. I got a huge tax bill at the end of the year. I was a kid making great money. I didn't expect I'd have to pay so much in taxes. Yeah. So we lost everything. We had to sell our house. We couldn't afford it. We had to sell our vehicles. We couldn't afford it. I had to pay the taxes. I had to pay the lawyer. And
what about the settlement? Like, I don't understand how these things work. Like I know suing is like part of the North American culture, especially down in the States. But like, if you won the case, would you not then receive a settlement that would cover those costs and give you more? Like.
That's how it sounds, right?
It does. Like
so. This was actually in the newspaper. This lawsuit. So they had the headline: "Tattoo shop sues for $2 million." So everybody thinks I'm getting $2 million.
Right.
Well, what happened is I win the injunction, so they have to stop using the business name. Okay, great, that's awesome. Now I pay my legal bill, and I say to my lawyer, "Where's my $2 million?" And he goes, "Oh no, now we're gonna sue them for money to give you the money back, right? The recourse."
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay. So what happens there?" And he goes, "Okay, well now we're going to need this huge $50,000 retainer, and you're looking at possibly $250,000 more to sue them." And I'm like, "Is this like I don't have any more money? I'm literally losing everything. I can't borrow money from anyone." And I end up finding out that the person that I'm suing, well, they're a person just like me. They tried to open a business. They didn't have anything either.
They probably don't have $2 million.
What am I suing them for?
Whoa.
So I actually talk about hitting your ego. I actually had to get them sign a piece of paper saying that I'm not pursuing this any further. I can't even just like let them sweat. I had to make them sign this piece of paper so they could like know that I'm not going after them anymore, and that's how we can close a case, which still cost me another $5,000 to get them to sign this paper. So I lost everything. Right, like everything we've worked so hard for.
How old were you at that point?
I would have been, so I'm 41 now. It would have been the year before my son was born. He's 13, so 14 years ago. I was a kid, still 28, in around there.
Right.
I'm about 28 years old.
And so you're married, you're starting a family, or thinking about starting a family, and then this huge bomb goes off in your life.
Yes.
Wow.
So what happened? My wife would have been pregnant going through it. We were really struggling, like big time. I became a jerk. I was mean all the time. I got road rage. I lost like my spunk and my spontaneity. My artist didn't want to work for me anymore. I was just not a happy person to be around. My tattoo business started like kind of going backwards because I just wasn't as available for clients. I was miserable. I wasn't like an alcoholic, but I was drinking more. I was just trying to like put away my sorrows.
Right.
I didn't really go down the drug rabbit hole or anything, but I was just in a pity party. And then I told my wife, I'm like, "Honey, I'm sorry. We have a newborn. You're going to have to go to work. We can't afford for you to stay home, when you're self-employed." So that was an argument in itself at home. And I'll never forget the day, man. We were looking for daycare, and I was inside the daycare facility to find out, if they'll take on newborns, and the cost was crazy. And I'm emotional, sorry.
That's all right, man. It's all right, man.
I collapsed. I hit the floor, and we had to call an ambulance. I thought I was having a heart attack. It was a panic attack, thank God. And what ended up happening was I started getting panic attacks every day. So I got heavily medicated from the doctors. I think I was on 7 different medications. And yeah, man, I was a complete disaster. My business was completely failing. Everything was just sinking. My relationship, my marriage was going to the crappers. I wasn't even around really for my kid because I was just not even here mentally, right?
Right.
And I ended up with agoraphobia. I couldn't leave my house. I couldn't walk outside without passing out or collapsing. So I had to hire somebody with the money I don't have to teach me how to live again. And that took almost 2 years to learn how to even go to a restaurant, to just kind of like get a personality again.
Right.
And from there, I started healing, and then I got a therapist to help me. I was able to wean off medication. I got a life coach to help me organize stress management, and I started like developing like a Buddhist mentality. I joined a Buddhist mosque. I started meditating every day. I joined yoga to learn how to just be okay with not being okay, like learning how to be uncomfortable.
Had you ever done any of that kind of stuff before, or was that completely new?
Completely. Your quote unquote man's man.
Right.
I was like crazy, man. I do a backflip off a 2-story roof, no problem. I was nuts, right? Like, Captain Hardcore on my knuckles, right? So no, it was like, this was the neurologist, and my doctor was saying, you need to learn calming techniques. You need to learn this. My therapist, maybe you should try yoga. So I said, okay, I'll do anything, right? And then I was trying to heal. And then the breaking point for me, I was driving home. It was
that wasn't the breaking point already?
No.
Holy
I was driving home on a country road, and there was an oncoming car coming to me, and I drove into the lane to hit him. I was done. I'm like, I'm just gonna take my life right now. I don't need to live. We're good. I have life insurance. Sorry, I forgot. I actually took out a life insurance policy that had suicide in it, and I put the reminder on my phone because the life insurance policy said at the 2-year time that if you commit suicide, your family gets paid. So I put a reminder in my phone so it would go off at 2 years. And then it did. It went off, and I had, within a few days of it going off, I'm like, perfect. My house will get paid off for my wife, and I'm good. So I went to do it. I was going 140 kilometers an hour, dead on into this car coming on Lake Ridge Road, Country Road in Whitby. And for some reason, I don't know if it was a mirage or if it's true, I saw a kid in the back seat. And I'm like, I can't. I ended up going into a ditch with my car, hyperventilating, crying. I turned around, went to the Whitby Mental Institution, checked myself in. I'm like, I need help. There's something really, really wrong with me. And that was the best day of my life, and the best thing that ever happened to me was suffering. Yeah. Do you want me to just go right into the...
Yeah, man. Like, I appreciate you sharing in such a vulnerable way, and I think that there is, there'll be somebody watching this podcast, at some point that will either relate specifically to what you're saying, or maybe just feel, like maybe their situation isn't so bad or whatever. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing this, man. And if you're okay to continue, like, what happened next?
100%. So from there, I decided that I'm worth living, that I need to focus on me. So I started reading books on neurology. I needed to learn how to heal. So I needed to understand what was happening in my brain, and working through therapy and coaches, and my life started getting better. My tattoo business, because I started getting a better personality, a better outlook on life, I just said, screw it. I'm being positive. I don't care. I have to. And I stopped caring about money, to be honest. I didn't care about trying to make money to pay my bills. I said to my wife, if we lose everything, I don't care. I just need to be happy. And it was crazy fast. Like I'm talking 6 months fast. I start healing in my mind. The sensations that were happening in my body were dissipating. And I had my emails flooded again for tattoo appointments. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Why do people wanted to be around me all the time? And I'm like, why? What the heck is happening? I'm very confused. We're making money again. I'm having people wanting to pay me more to get them in sooner. And I'm like, okay, I need to circulate. I need to figure out what's going on. And I figured out that I was giving an authentic experience to people. I was giving, I wasn't surrounding myself with people I didn't want to surround myself with. And I was just being genuine and positive and super just like radiating what I wanted to feel inside. I was just fake it till you make it. I faked happiness to just portray it so I could start believing I was happy, and people just wanted to be around me, and people wanted to pay me for my services, and everything got like, I started healing from my mental health, and I'm like, I'm literally capable of anything. So I hired a business coach, and then I used a business coach to help me build my tattoo business and start taking the stress away from me. And I blink my eyes. I buy the building my tattoo shop's in. I now have a team of 12 artists. I went from, 3 and a receptionist to
What
12.
was the timeline on that?
It's 2 years. Everything turned in 2 years. Wow. And I'm like, okay, what the heck? My circle of friends got bigger. My relationship with my wife got phenomenal. I became an unbelievable father. I was just like, I understood the mind. I was able to help my children and guide my children as opposed to just telling them what to do. And my wife told me constantly, like, I love who you are. She says it to me every day. And I'm like, okay, there's really something here. There's more to me than this. I know there is. I'm capable of anything. If I can do this, I can literally do anything. So I sold the building that my tattoo shop was in. I was having a few issues of stress in there that I didn't want to deal with anymore. And 25 years of doing it, I figured I want to do other things. There's more to me. So I focused solely on helping my wife grow her business, hired business coaches to help grow that business in real estate. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to school and get my high school diploma. So I went and I took all the hardest courses. I could have copped out and took easy things. I broke down many times. I remember crying in my son's room, and I was doing my math homework. I took grade 12 math. I didn't even need to take it. I took it. And I said, you know what? I said to my son, my oldest son, I said, what do your mom and I tell you to do when you're suffering in school, when you can't figure it out and we can't help you? And he goes, well, you guys get me a tutor. And I said, okay, I need to get a tutor. So I got myself a tutor. And then I passed, I was a 50 student, and I graduated continuing education as an adult, 95% in math. And I said, okay, if I can do this, I can do anything. I then took real estate school. I went into real estate school. It's a 2-year program. I set up a timeline and a schedule, and I finished it in 4 months. My worst mark in those classes was 89%, and my best mark was 86. So I crushed real estate school. And I said, I'm capable of even more than this. So I actually finished real estate school, and I flew down to Harvard. And I took Harvard Continuing Education, Harvard Business School, and I took Master Negotiations course.
Wow.
I went in there, a high school dropout, and these people are CEOs. They had very big profile jobs, and I worked my ass off, man. We would go to school from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. and we would have some homework, and I'd go home at 6 o'clock and I'd study till 10 o'clock, and I came in the next day more prepared than every single person in that class. And I negotiated better than 90% of them. My teacher actually is from Toronto. She was teaching at Harvard, and at the end of it actually asked if I could help her sell her mother's home because she saw that how hard I worked in the class. Wow. And if I'm willing to do that in class, what I'm capable of doing for clients.
Wow.
And
that's someone who probably, had the most access to any realtor that she wanted, and she chose you.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would have been actually this last year. So that would have been Harvard last year, and I've taken all of this forward into real estate now, and it's why I'm getting results that I'm getting. I'm putting passion first. I'm finding all of the pain points. I've been there. My wife and I have flipped properties. We've sold properties. We've had agents before my wife got into it. And I'm looking at all those things that we really suffered on or wish we had support on. And I'm like, no, I'm going to give you first world experience, and I'm going to take all those pain points away or make them as easy as possible for you. And I'm going to show up for you because I really care. And I did that in my tattoo business. I did that in helping grow my wife's real estate business, and I'm doing that now for my own clients. And I'm seeing astronomical results. It's growing really fast. We're actually today on my way to this podcast. We're purchasing a building to open our own brokerage now. Like we're growing very, very fast.
So where a lot of people's lives are kind of like that, yours has kind of been a bit like that.
Yep.
I do really, really, really want to hear a little bit more in detail about like real estate and about like some of those things that you've spoken about. But if we can go back a little bit as well, just to how like, what do you think? How would you describe what happened to you that day after you found yourself in the ditch? If I understand it correctly, it seems like that was like almost like a 180 in your life, and everything that's come afterwards has kind of flowed from what happened there. Would you say that's true?
100%.
What happened there?
So when I saw I don't know if there was actually a child or not, because when I was going towards the car, they were in the center of the back seat. I don't know many children that just sit in the center of the back seat unless that whole back seat was full. I truly believe it was a mirage myself. I think that I needed to see that. So I used that as my purpose, and that was something telling me that I need to be a guide for my children. And I didn't want to, I find that we're always telling our children, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. I don't believe that. With the life changes that I've done in my own life, I'm going to lead by example. I want to tell you to brush your teeth every day. Let's brush them together, and I'll show you how to do it. Right? You're struggling with something in life. Well, let me struggle with you, and let's see if we can find out a way together, because they need to figure out how to create their own solution. I can't tell them, no, don't do this. Yes, do that. Because then they're just mirroring my life.
And that's not going to set them up for success as they grow and come of age and then are an independent person in the world.
100%. They're just become another version of me, right?
Right.
I want them to find their own creativity. I want them to find their own struggles and create solutions. And what better than me, in my 40s, doing it and showing them, hey, look, I don't want to go to work today, but I am. And then look at the success that I'm doing, and look at the reward I got from doing it. I don't want to go to the gym today, but I am. And look how healthy I am. I can still run that 10K with you. I can still play soccer with you. Yeah. And so I love doing things and showing them. When I was going to school, actually, my oldest son, he just got nominated for valedictorian this year.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And so he's graduating grade 8. And I said to him, I'm like, what is your speech going to look like? If you get this, what are you going to say? And he's going to say, he said to me, he goes, Dad, I'm literally going to go up there and say, my dad did it. I can do it. And I'm like, whoa. It's because last year he was a B student, and this year he's got all these goals for honor roll. And I said to him, like, dude, where's the change? He goes, Dad, you got 96%. He's like, I saw you do it. You never even went to school.
Wow.
And I'm like, dude, that's crazy. I'm doing it, and they're seeing it, but they're doing it their own way.
Yeah, I think there's also, I just want to draw attention to something you said earlier as well that I think is so in line with this, but it's kind of on the other side. There's a humility of you saying, if I want to do well at school, like, what would I do for you, right? What would I do for my child? Well, I would get them a tutor. Okay, well, I'm going to get myself a tutor. you said it in a way that kind of seems very simple, and in theory it is, but in my own experience, that's not the obvious thing to do, right? I treat my son, in a way that is, absolutely, I love him unconditionally. I will do absolutely anything that is going to, meet his needs or provide opportunities for him or whatever. But it's very, 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 it's a very different thing that I look at myself. I wouldn't provide myself that same opportunity naturally. I wouldn't take care of myself in the same way that I would take care of him, right? And although I'm not sure whether it comes from an egotistical place, but there's maybe a little bit of that there. Like, I don't need to be taken care of, or I shouldn't need to be taken care of, right? I'm a man.
Yeah.
I should be able to just get on with it. I should be able to take care of business, take care of my family, right? And and if there's something that I need, that's a sign of my weakness, right? But you show that humility that is ultimately beneficial for you and everyone around you. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, it was at first, like, I remember going to my first therapist. I was really closed in. I didn't want to share. There was lots of stuff that I wasn't open to, and that was that, like, I got to be a man. Like, I'll keep my walls and my guards up, and I'll share a little bit. And I was literally just like, fix me, like,
right.
Screw off.
Give me the A, B, C, and D that I need to do.
Yeah.
So that
I'll go swing a hammer and figure it out. Right? Like, that was it.
You're
right?
a man. You're a problem solver. That's what you do. You find problems, you solve them.
Yeah. And then I realized this is a process, and it's going to take time. And then it was like, okay. And then once I learned how to open up, my life coach actually said to me, he goes, you're going to be leagues ahead because you were a professional athlete. He goes, you would have had coaches to get to the next level. You can't just do it by yourself. You need somebody to kind of show you the way, right?
Yeah.
Or you just keep getting hurt. And that's when I realized, no, every step of every single thing I need, I should reach out and get some sort of help. I could have struggled trying to do this math, and I could have had my ego up, but getting a tutor, we found they know a system, right? They found a way to, like, make it easy for me. And I was like, oh my God, they taught me all these different, like, formulas and different, like, words that I could say to, like, memorize things. And I'm like, no, this is a pro. Go to a pro, right? Yeah. And it's something I will keep doing. I even have a real estate coach now, and I had a real estate coach before that, and I had a business coach before that, and not only do they keep you accountable, but they keep my business plan and my growth mindset where it needs to be, and they keep me on track. Yeah. So that's something that I find, very, very beneficial.
Yeah, like I was speaking to a guest earlier in the Earner podcast, Andrew Perry, and he was saying that, anybody who is at a high level of success, whether it is a sports, whether it's a professional athlete, but also like CEOs and like leaders in business, people who have achieved a high level of success, almost every single one of them has either a coach or multiple coaches. And I guess I never really connected it in that much of a clear way. It's the total opposite to that mentality that I just shared there. Like, I'm a man, I don't need help.
Yeah.
If I need help, that's a reflection on my own worth. Like that means that I am lesser because I need help. But that's a stupid way of looking at it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. You have to have gone through the trenches, I think, to realize that. Or you'll start meeting other people that'll be like, oh, I got help in this area or this area, and you're like, well, maybe I should start dabbling with that and need help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something that actually it's something. The word something. You've used that a couple of times in what you've shared with me and what you've described. You said that day in the car, there was something that, whether it was a mirage or whatever, there was something that kind of caused you to see that. And I don't remember exactly what, but there was another way. There was something that kind of told you. What is that something?
Intuition, something in my mind. I'm personally not one that's like I believe in I believe in energy. I believe in the universe is out there. I don't really hone in on one specific thing. Like there's specifically like a God or Allah or Shiva or whatever, and all, I don't have anything against anyone that does, but I personally don't hone in on one specific thing. But I do believe that we are designed our brains are designed to protect us, and it does want the best for us. And that's what anxiety and panic attacks were.
Right.
I was in such a high level of stress. My brain was just trying to protect me, and I was just scared of what it was trying to do. It was saying, hey, I'm going to have you collapse right now.
Yeah, this is too much. We need to shut down.
Yeah. And then I just got terrified of it, which made me go into panic and worry mode, right? And so it kept shutting down because I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then so yeah, I believe we are like our systems are very innate, and we are designed that, our brains are designed to keep us in the best interest. It's just we have to kind of trust it. Yeah. And, and we do have to tell it, I can do this. I'm better than this. Thank you for protecting me, but I'm going this direction, right? Because, going through school wasn't easy. Going to Harvard, I was dealing with imposter syndrome the entire time. I'm sitting in a room with people that
How long were you there for?
That was only a week course.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was extremely intimidating. I fly down, and I never flew anywhere by myself. So I was first time flying by myself somewhere. And then I go into this course and I see all these people, and then everybody's announcing who they are and what they work for, what they do. And I'm like, what? There's like 50 people in this room, and I'm like, oh my God, do I belong here? Right? So I had to tell my brain the whole time. And I learned that from dealing with anxiety and dealing with panic. I had to tell my brain, hey, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for thinking I'm not worthy, but this is where I belong.
Right.
And I would write it down. I had a blank piece of paper in front of me. And I remember the very first thing I wrote down, I felt a little nervous, and I noticed some sensations. There was some shakiness, and I could feel my heart pounding, and that was the imposter syndrome. I shouldn't be here. Right. And I'm like, I wrote it down on paper. I'm like, huge letters on the very top of my first page of my notebook, you belong here.
Wow.
And I looked at it every single day. I don't have my phone on me right now. It's in my jacket. But if I showed you everything in my life now, if I showed you my phone, the screensaver, you would see it's all like hyper glown with all these amazing things of who I am and where I want to be, mindset. If you went into my house, I've got a beautiful vision board on my wall right beside when I wake up in the morning. My mirror in my bathroom is full of goals and tasks. So what I do is I set short-term goals on my bathroom mirror, and then I have to look at them twice a day because I brush my teeth. So I read them all over, and then as one gets accomplished, then I take it off my mirror and I put it on my bedroom mirror. So that one gets me ready for success. So I look at my bedroom mirror when I'm looking good, and I put my dress shirt on and my suit on, and I'm ready to conquer the day.
You remind yourself of what you've achieved.
I did that.
Wow.
So the only problem I'm going to have is I'm going to need a bigger house that can have a bigger mirror, right?
Right.
That's a
great problem to have.
I don't need a bigger house, but I'm going to need a bigger mirror at some point because, right? And it's great because my children, their mirrors are full of Post-its. My wife actually started doing it about a year and a half ago.
Wow.
And they move it to their bathroom mirrors. And what are we getting, man? In the last 2 years, I'm getting our youngest son actually just got asked to play on a Team Canada All-Star team for hockey. Our oldest son, valedictorian for school, he got nominated. We're seeing success everywhere. They're asked to be keynote speakers in different areas, both of my children.
Wow.
I'm now doing mental health keynote speaking. I'm speaking so I'll be starting this year for our son's grade 8 class, and I'm just going to motivate kids and teach them when you go to high school, look at high school as relationship building, build confidence in talking to people, build confidence in talking to your teacher, and just protesting your marks. If you're unhappy with something, build the courage.
Advocating for yourself.
Yeah, you should be using high school as a stepping stone, not like it shouldn't, there might be somebody. I'm amazing at chess. I love chess. I'm very good at it. When I went to high school, I'm this Captain Hardcore, right? BMX dude. Yeah, man. I didn't play any chess because my friends would have made fun of me. I should have went right into it and made friends with all of those people, right? So I want to reach out and help our youth just change their mind. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So that's literally my biggest purpose.
Wow. So this intuition that you speak of, and this energy field, the universe, or whatever, is there any like daily, any other daily practice apart from like the notes and stuff like that? Is there anything else that you feel is a really essential part of you constantly being aware of that and constantly being present to what, where that's guiding you?
So I have two systems I follow every single day. There's non-negotiables. So one is for myself and one is for my family. The first one is every single morning. I'd love to say I wake up at 5:30 every day. That I'd be lying. Sometimes an hour, give or take. But I get up every morning. I have a 10-minute meditation routine that's non-negotiable. I sit down, I do a few minutes of deep breaths. It's usually around 10 deep breaths, the 4 seconds in, 7-second hold, 8 seconds out. And then
Is
I
that like Wim Hof breathing? Is that
no, he would be like more like hyperventilation breathing. So like the military will use this.
Oh, okay.
When before they kick in a door, they'll either use box breathing or 4-7-8.
Right.
So it's just calms your nervous system down, a few big deep breaths, and then I just pay attention, a body scan. I learned this through yoga and meditation. Is just
Right.
pay attention to where I'm holding tension and just let it go. So sometimes it's in my neck, sometimes my face, wherever it is, I just let it go. And then I go right into three things I'm grateful for or proud of that so it would have been the day before, right? Like
Right.
what I'm grateful or proud of. And I really just look at it and I go deep with it, man. Like I had a conversation with somebody and I said too much. I should have not said so much. So I'm not upset at myself. I'm grateful for recognizing the way I had the conversation yesterday. I'll never have one like that again.
Wow.
You know? And then I'm proud of myself for recognizing that and I'm going to move forward, right? And that might actually turn into a goal that I'll write down on a Post-it and put on my mirror. You know, stop giving away too much information to somebody I'm negotiating with or something
Right.
like that, right? And then boom, now that's in there. And then I go into visualization will be the end of it. I set a timer on my phone, you know, hey, whatever, Alexa or whoever, you know, set 10 minutes. I don't want to say Siri because my phone will go off, but, you know, set 10-minute timer and then it'll set one for me. And then the end of the end of the meditation is just strictly visualization of how I project myself, what my future looks like, where do I see myself, like with my kids, with my wife, what does all of this look like? What does my real estate business look like? You know, my transactions with my clients, like, you know, all of that, I kind of sum it up there. And then the second thing that's non-negotiable is every single solitary day, we actually do this with our kids. So it's on a smaller scale. So at nighttime, we go into our youngest son's bedroom at 8 o'clock every night, wind down time. And we all lay down on the floor and we all go around the room. Just one thing we're grateful for or proud of that day. And so the kids will share first and then my wife and then I go. And then we do 3 big deep breaths just to calm our nervous system down. And then they have Google in their room. So I say, hey, Google, set a timer for 2 minutes. And we just completely chill for 2 minutes. I take a stuffed animal or a children's toy and I put it on our kids' bellies because they don't understand mindfulness. And I say, just watch the toy go up and down with your mind. Just pay attention to it go up and down. And they'll do it for 2 minutes. And then everybody's calm, relaxed. And then we go to bed. And the thing that I've noticed, we've been doing this for years. This is
Really?
Yeah, this is like, we're very strict on it. And the thing I do notice is our kids go to bed with great visions of what they want to accomplish. And then it's almost consistent the next day in the morning. They get up and they're like, oh, I'm going to crush this today or I'm going to do this. We've kind of knocked out that negativity. And the times that there is negativity, when they come home from school, this happened or that happened, we bring it into that meditation in the evening. How could we solve that in a better way? And how could we look at this better? So what did you learn from that thing that's upsetting you? Oh, you know what? I actually learned how to talk to a person better rather, you know? And so it's always being flipped and that'll come from my anxieties and panic disorder that I had prior. I had to learn how to change the way my brain was working and we're seeing the results astronomical in our children and in my wife.
Wow. There's like a million different things that I want to say in response to that. I don't even know where to start, man. But that's so incredibly. I think what you're describing there is probably quite rare in my experience in terms of your own personal routine and the routine with your family. But I guess the thing that I want to share with you, my observation there is, so I have faith in God, right? And it's a relatively new thing. I spent my entire life like with an atheist worldview. I thought everything was just like matter and, kind of rational explanations for everything. But I came to faith. But the rest of my family is still atheists. And I was speaking to my sisters over Christmas, and I was sharing with them some of the stuff that I do related to my faith. And they were having a really difficult time understanding it, right? And, and one of the things I was saying is like my faith helps me to be a better person, treat other people better. And they were like, what are you talking about, man? You're a good person anyway. Like, why do you need that, right? And what I was trying to explain to them was having a belief system and having a clarity about, what actually is going on in my existence and what is going on in my mind and in my heart. And then having some kind of outlet with which to, express certain things, to seek clarity. I truly believe that my conversations with God are the same as the conversations I would used to have as an atheist. I would kind of be having them with myself. I don't actually see that as a different thing. But the spiritual practice of prayer, of kind of participating in worship and stuff like that, it seems to me that you've found your own practice, and you may not see it as a spiritual practice, but it's actually it's intended to achieve the same result, which is to recognize what's going on around you. Don't be on autopilot. Like, be grateful for things. Have compassion for yourself, right? Turn negatives into positives. And I'm not sure whether I'm expressing it in a very good way, but it's like, the human instinct to, create rituals and routines and habits and places to direct things and places to try to receive things from. Over history, the most obvious way that's been done is through religion. But I think that the way that you have created these routines, it's to service the same purpose, but you've just done it in a way that's so beautiful and so it's so personal to you and then your family. That's amazing, man. I've never heard anything like that before.
I had I'm Italian Irish, and I grew up Roman Catholic. So my nana, I literally lived at a church. So I started altar serving when I was younger, and I remember telling my nana, I'm going to be a priest when I'm a little kid, right? Like, I literally lived at the church. Being Italian Irish, you're going to live at the church.
Yeah, Italian and Irish.
Italian and Irish. I lived at the church. And so what ended up happening was I was a senior altar server. I got the red rope and I did everything, right? And I had a great priest as a mentor. And my priest gave me trouble. I'm left-handed. My priest gave me trouble for signing the cross with my left hand.
Really?
Yes. And I'll never forget it because I would struggle so hard to sign the cross with my right hand. And we had the archbishop came down from Rome and was doing a ceremony at our church, which was in the beaches at the time, in the Toronto beaches. And I was ecstatic to meet the archbishop. And because I'm an altar server, I got one-on-one time with the archbishop, right? And when we sat down and I said to the archbishop, I said, my priest, he keeps giving me trouble to sign the cross with my left hand. And it's really bothering me because I'm left-handed and I don't want to go to hell. It's literally what I said because I was terrified. I was a child, right? I think I might have been 12 or 13 years old. Mm. And the archbishop goes, that's crazy. He goes, you could do it with your feet if you want to. Mm-hmm. He goes, you don't even have to do it. He goes, what are people going to do with no arms? Mm-hmm. He goes, faith is faith. As long as you believe, then have the belief and God listens to you, right?
Yeah.
And it was actually that moment when I stopped believing because I was like, okay, wait a minute. Why are you telling me to do this? And then this guy's telling me I don't need to.
Right.
I think, so it just became, I think that if I am very spiritual and I have so much faith. I just don't know who I'm having faith for. I didn't put a label on it. I have so much faith, right? And like you said,
well,
very,
clearly
very spiritual.
your life is a testament to that.
Yes, yeah, very, very spiritual. But a lot of it is I have faith in me. Right. I have faith in my ability to do it. And instead of, where I would have said like, Hail Mary or the Our Father, you know, I have values, right?
Right.
So I have 8 core values and 3 that are like, so I check every single solitary day. The first one is me. My first value is me. I come first. And then if I'm not healthy and I'm not sound of mind, I've been there. I can't be there for my family. So
Right.
I can't put my family first. Then my family's second. So then my family, all things come first for them. Then I have third will be making sure that my business practices that allow me to give the livelihood I have and the opportunities I have for my family and me come from obviously what I make in money from business. So that comes number 3. And then I have my other 5 that are important, but those 3 mental check. So the way I actually live my life would be very similar to somebody that is religious, right? Like, oh, I'll pray or I'll do whatever I have to do to check in.
I think there's probably a great deal more spiritual discipline in your life to a lot of people who would be religious.
100%, yeah. So if you said to me right now, hey Mark, you know, hey, great conversation. This podcast is awesome. You know, you want to grab some lunch after this, right? And I do this every single day with every single solitary thing. I go, hey John, just give me 2 seconds, okay? And I'll like either walk to my phone or I'll tell you I have to go to the washroom.
Right.
And then I run through my first 3 core values. So I go, okay, have I taken care of myself today? Right. So I had a lot of business calls this morning. I'm dealing with this building. So I wasn't able to go to the gym this morning. So I haven't taken care of myself yet. And then have I done everything for my kids? So I'll run through. Is my kids okay with their math homework? Is everything all right? Do they need me right now? No, I think they're okay. And then is all business operations going to be okay? Yeah, we're all right there. I can go to the gym in an hour after lunch. No problem. Yes, let's go for lunch.
Wow.
So I check through before I say yes to anything. Have I hit my 3 core values? And if I haven't, sorry, John, I appreciate you wanting to going to lunch. Let's do it next time. I have some things I have to take care of. And they're non-negotiable. And it keeps me on track. It keeps me on point.
It's such an intentional way of living.
Yeah.
You know, and I think
it's value-based living. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it really is. And just kind of related to that, but something that you were speaking about earlier about, you didn't call them affirmations, but like, you know, those practices that you do to bring yourself that clarity about like who you are, you know, what you deserve, the fact that you are, you know, you belong in that room in Harvard and all the rest of it. You know, that you might describe that as affirmations.
Yeah.
I've always had a difficult time really, you know, understanding how those like affirmations work. Now, affirmations, you know, I think that's become a little bit of a cliche, you know, and like, you know, I am, you know, worthy. I am going to succeed today, and I am, you know, and I think it seems a little bit cheesy, and so I've never really thought too much about it. But what you just made me realize that I've never really thought about before, is that if in your clearest frame of mind, you can then intentionally make decisions about how you want to live your life, you can then define those as values, as actions, as like non-negotiables, right? And you know that because you're in the state of like highest clarity, that is, you know, what you need to do. All of the other time in your life, which might be 95% of the time, where you don't have that like absolute clarity that you have, you can still live according to that clarity because you've defined them. Yeah. You've defined the values. You're going to remind yourself of things which are not cliched affirmations like I belong here. These are things that you actually know to be true because in your moments of clarity, you've come to recognize them as true. Yeah. Right? That's such a beautiful way of living in a way that's true to yourself and making sure that you don't just end up being on autopilot, responding to things in whatever way you respond to them in the moment and say, yeah, sure, John, let's go to lunch. And then, you know, kind of not even realizing that that's actually, you know, created a consequence that's going to have a negative impact on your evening with your family and stuff like that. Yeah. Like, I don't think I've ever spoken to somebody with that kind of clarity, discipline, and execution when it comes to that value-based living?
So there's lots of other small tasks that I do every single day to make sure that I stay this way and out of autopilot. Now, going through yoga, meditation, I've taken countless mindful courses. I've had coaches for absolutely everything you can think of. Some have been great and some have not been. They've been catastrophe.
Right.
But like,
Well, you probably learned something from them anyway.
You'll learn something from everything, right?
Yeah.
But like one of the things that I learned, I remember I took an 8-week mindfulness meditation course. I actually had to get a doctor's note because it was part of the MSBR. It was part of, it was like a doctorate, right? Like it was run by physicians. And in this course, I was like, I don't know how to be mindful. So they said, eat an almond and let's take 10 minutes to eat an almond. Sure, but I didn't feel mindful, right? So they gave me this exercise and they said, well, what we want you to do is go home and do the dishes by hand. Don't use your dishwasher. And we want you to reverse the way you do them. So don't wash in this sink and then go to this sink. We want you to start this way. So what happened was I washed the dish and then I'm confused. I'm like, wait, but I dry them here. Wait, this doesn't make sense, right? And I was totally like, I remember the first time I'm like this, like I was frustrated.
Right.
Guess what? I was mindful.
Right.
I had to be autopilot. I would go like this. I'd have a talk with my wife.
You had to be present in what you were doing.
So then they said, okay, what I want you to do is every day put your watch on your other wrist.
Right.
I have to think about that because autopilot, I go to put my watch here.
Please keep talking, but I'm just going to do that right now.
So put it on your other wrist. So now guess what happens? You go to look at what time it is. You're going to grab this hand and go, wait, what? And you're going to think, where's my, oh yeah, right? Guess what? You're now mindful for just even a moment. So then they told me, start putting your car keys in your other pocket, right? So then it was like, well, there's 3 things that got me mindful 3 times that day. And I was like, holy crap.
And they're just like mundane things.
So then I personally made my own things. And I'm like, all right, if you hung out with me for a day, you'd be like, this guy's a lunatic. I will never park in the same parking spot ever. So I go to the grocery store and I will go to, okay, I parked in this aisle last time. I go to this aisle. Okay, I went here. I'll walk into the opposite side. I'll go to the milk section first instead of produce. I'll go in the middle aisles. Constantly change it up. Like when I write my grocery list, I would start like produce, meat, whatever. And then the next time, like, oh wait, I started produce first. I'll put meat here. That means I have to be thinking. I have to be present constantly. There's no autopilot at all. And you know what's awesome? I go to write down, I think, oh wait, I wrote produce last time and I put meat at the top. I laugh. I literally go meat. I'm like, oh my God, caught myself again. Like, and I'll go to like turn down that same aisle where I parked last week. And then I literally start laughing. I'm like, there's autopilot.
Right.
You know, I'm not mad at myself. I'm not like, oh, you idiot. You know, I'm just like, oh, here we go.
You're observing yourself.
Yeah. And then so now I actually have a consequence for that. When I actually turn into the same aisle, the second I catch myself, oh, this is where I parked last week. So I have to intentionally look at all the cars for one that I think is the coolest. So I have to drive. I can't stop and go to the next aisle. I have to finish that whole aisle and go to the next one.
Right.
And now I'm like, let me just see if there's a cool car here, like one that might be neat or something that's got a new design. So then I'm driving. I'm like, oh wow, Hyundai just created the new front bumper. I never noticed that before.
Wow.
So, and it's funny because I'll be on the highway and my wife will be like, oh, that's a cool car. And I'm like, oh, that's the new redesign from Hyundai. Why do I know that? Because I drove down the same aisle I did last time. Like I'm learning things constantly because I'm actually present. I'm here.
You are a lunatic in the best possible way.
I'm so present. I'm so fulfilled.
So
and like joyful.
Yeah, I actually have an extremely difficult time being present. It's one of the things that I have been working on, pretty hard for a good while now, like a few years. But I do find myself on autopilot all the time. I am, and as well as being on autopilot. So I've kind of always known that I had it, but I recently got diagnosed with 3 things, right? ADHD and depression and anxiety. I always knew that I had it, but it started to become, a bit of a challenge in everyday life, and I would have this brain fog, and I would have this kind of anxiousness, and so I thought I want to go and get it diagnosed, so at least I can then start to manage it. but as I've come to understand, anxiety and depression, this is obviously a wild oversimplification, but like anxiety is worrying too much about the future, right? What's going to happen? Depression is dwelling too much on the past, right? The thing that's absent from both of those things is the present. And I find that even though I'm way better than I ever have been, right? And there are moments where I can be present, and part of it's my faith, part of it's just my own, kind of intention to improve myself. But even still, I am so very rarely present in my day. I am, I'm either on autopilot or I'm daydreaming or I'm dwelling on the past or worrying about the future.
Yeah, and most people are in that same loop.
Was that a big part of your experience before that turning point in your life? Like, and is that one of the things that like flipped for you to then have this presence of mind?
So I didn't realize I was in autopilot until I started getting help. And it was actually like, there's a large sum of things. There's not like one book that changed my life. There's not like one coach or one therapist that changed my life. I got a little bit from all of them. It was actually my last therapist when I had my like aha moment. And then I was like, you saved my life is literally what I told them. And they said, no, I just brought the pieces together. You were ready for it now.
Right.
You weren't ready for it then, right? And then he had said to me, he's like, you just opened up clarity to that one thing you read in that book, that one thing that one therapist said, that one thing that other book said, and you just like made your own you
connections
right now, right?
Right.
And it was like, oh, okay. So I didn't realize until then I lived fully on autopilot. And it was then when I decided to make the conscious effort to live value-based. And I eliminated the word happy from my life. There's no happy life. Happy is an emotion, right? So if I can live value-based, then I can live a fulfilled life.
Right.
It's intentional, right? I'm moving in the direction that I intentionally want to do. My vision board shows me a picture. I'm a visual person, shows me a picture of where I would like to go. So I have to create steps to get there. So is going to lunch with you helping these steps get there or not? Now, there is fulfillment in going to lunch with you. I'm enjoying this podcast. I think you're a great guy. You smile. You're great. It's awesome. You want to go to lunch. That adds value to me because I want to spend time with you. But I just need to make sure that those things are checked off first before we do that, right? And that way I'm staying on track and intentional, which is helping me not live on autopilot, right?
Right. And I guess it's like a cycle. So living that way helps you to not live on autopilot. And by not living on autopilot and forcing yourself with these different practices, these different, rituals is what they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That forces you into the present moment. And because like to live value-based, you can't live value-based any time else other than the present moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
man.
I have one thing, like when I go grocery shopping, I would say for me is the one thing that I don't absolutely love to do.
Right.
So I do find like I struggle a lot there being present, where I don't want to just look at my list, run through the grocery store, get it all done. So whenever I end up in the produce section and I catch myself, and that's part of it is being self-aware, and I catch myself like just throwing apples in a bag and just kind of doing the thing, I always look for the zucchini section and then laugh because it's like a penis in like an emoji, right? So I'm like, every kid draws penises all the time. So I was like, I just kind of like look for the zucchini and I just start laughing and it hits me every time. I crack up and I'm like, you know what, man? Just have fun. Like, who cares if it takes me 15 minutes longer to grocery shop? Let's find a good apple, right?
So you have these rituals, but then you also have these triggers.
Yeah.
And that's so cool because like this watch feels so weird that it's on my left hand. That's making me present. There are certain things that I do either in my life or my business where I do have triggers, right? Like there's something that I have, again, it goes back to, the idea of values. There's something that I have decided, like, at a previous point in time where I had clarity. And I've set up triggers for myself where I will so for example, in like a podcast scenario, or if I'm I have a variety of different things that I do where I'm speaking to other people, right? I go in and do like, I go into prisons and do like ministry with prison residents. I engage in small group, kind of sessions with various people. And it's about to start now in about 30 seconds. If I continue talking past 30 seconds from now, a trigger would go off in my brain to say, you've been talking for about 2 minutes now, you need to ask a question and throw it back, right? So I have a couple of these different triggers, but it sounds like you have like a trigger for every single different thing.
That's taught, right? That's over that's not just created right away. So there's like a lot of journaling involved, a lot of and it cores back to fixing my mental health. So I had to create triggers for my mental health. Every time I caught myself into that trap of my panic and anxiety, it was the only way I could heal. I used to, like, my heart would elevate all the time, and I love exercise. So I would go for a run, and then I'd end up in like a panic attack. My heart's flying.
Right.
So I'd literally be running going, that's just my brain protecting me. Thank you for protecting me.
Right.
That's just my brain right? And I would say it like literally, like you'd think I was a psychopath, because in my head I'd be saying it 15, 20, 30 times.
But without reminding yourself, it's so easy to then forget that that's what's going on and get caught up in the...
Then now I'm having another panic attack, right? Now I got to call 911 or get home or whatever I had to do at the time, right? And that was a real thing for me. And so when I started doing that, it was like, okay, like anxiety and panic and all of the horrible things I lost quite a few years of my life were the best thing that ever happened to me. Wow. My wife, man, we've been together 16 years, and she literally said, I had no idea this is the man that I'd be marrying. She's like, I am so in love with you. I feel like I'm such a role model for my children. We have an amazing relationship. Obviously there's ups and downs like every family, but like our growth as a family is so strong. I get calls from my aunts. I get calls from my uncles like, man, I'm so proud of like what you're doing with your family. Like I wish I had guidance like this. This is my own family telling me stuff like this. My parents are like, I had my dad call me and he was like, hey man, I just want to say like, I wish I could offer you the support that you're offering your family. He's like, keep it up, man. You have really good kids. They have very clear minds. So, they're not going to be as analytical as me with these steps, but I'm just teaching them, I had to do it to heal, and it just became part of my processes. But for them, I'm just teaching them how to be present, how to feel fulfilled, and that bad things happen all the time. It's just a matter of how we look at them, right? And how we grow from them. You can come home and be like, oh, I got an argument with that person, and then be pissed off for the next 2 or 3 days. Or you can say, hey, I got an argument with that person. How did it start? How could I have changed it? And how could I have controlled the outcome?
Right.
And then if you could write that down on paper, guess what? That's never going to happen to you again.
Right.
And then the next time it comes, you're going to control it. You're going to navigate it. And then it's having the strength to come home. What am I proud of and what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for not getting into an argument and recognizing that I've been here before. And I'm proud that I handled it this way, and look at how amazing the turnout was for me.
Right.
So, and that's what I'm teaching my children, right?
Yeah. Do you ever like come home or wake up in the morning or whatever point, you've committed to doing these practices, these rituals? Do you ever think to yourself, I'm not doing these stupid things today. Like I'm either too tired, or like I'm not in the right mood, or like, this is stupid. Do you ever have those feelings?
I think that's every day.
Right.
Like, honestly, I think it's every day, right? It's like, like anything that is hard work, our brains want to chill on the couch, man. Like, everybody, it's so much easier to do nothing.
Well,
right?
That's why we daydream. That's why we go on autopilot, because our brains are designed to conserve energy, right? The brain is the most calorie consuming organ in our entire body. Because as far as our evolutionary biology is concerned, we're still on the plains in Africa having to be careful that we're not going to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, right? So our brains are constantly trying to take us out of anything that requires a lot of thought, because it's got to conserve calories so that when the saber-toothed tiger does show up, we can get out of there, right? So you're fighting against biology. You're fighting constantly against biology by being present, because being present takes a lot of the power of the mind. So how do you do that when you get those moments where it's like, I'm too tired. I'm too, whatever. I'm not feeling good. Like I've had a crappy day or whatever. Like where does that strength come from to just do it anyway?
For me, it's going to come into obviously where I was, right? Like, I was suicidal, man. Do I want to be there again? I know the life I have now. I see what it's doing for my children, for my business, for my peers, for people that are around me. So that's my strength. But you have to give yourself the time. And this is the most important thing, to not be okay. So it's okay to not be okay. And that I find a lot of people struggle with, because you can't turn on the positivity switch all the time. So I actually give my demons a time limit depending on how I feel. So if I have a freak out, and like I'm human, right? Like that happens. There'll be times where I'm frustrated, I might blow up, but I'll recognize very quickly and I apologize immediately. It's like, whoa, that's the old me, because that old me's in there. It's always going to be in there. So old me rised. Hey, whoever it is I'm around, I'll own it immediately. I'm really sorry that this version of me just came out.
Right.
There's a demon in there that I'm trying to tame. It's better for me not to be in this situation right now, whether that's with my children, even a friend. I've left a friend's house. Like I freaked out about something, and I'm like, you know what? That guy didn't need to come out right now. He doesn't ever need to come out. So I'm like, I need to go home. I'll go home, or I'll go just to, even sometimes it's just the bathroom. I'll go to a safe place,
Right.
and then I just give it time. So depending on if it's like a serious freak out, and how I'll pay attention to I'll notice the sensations in my body. So if there's like a lot of tension, and I learned this through Buddhist meditation, then I'll give it, usually 10 minutes is my time limit. So I literally say, hey buddy, it's my friend, you're part of me. Hey buddy, haven't seen you in a while. You doing okay? I'm going to give you 10 minutes to give me everything you got. That's what you get. And I enjoy laying on the ground for that. So I'm not going to do that if I'm at a friend's bathroom. I'm not going to just lay on their floor. But usually I'll go home and I'll lay down on the floor, and I give it 10 minutes to take recourse. You want to give me a panic attack now? You want to give me shakes? You want to get tension? You want to be nervous? Whatever you want to do, I'll give you 10 minutes to do whatever you need to do. I don't really get the panics anymore or the anxiety anymore, but I do notice sensations, and I'll let them happen, and I let it run its course. And then I'll set, I'll tell my phone, hey, do this for me for a 10-minute timer. And then when the 10-minute timer comes off, I'll say, hey friend, I gave you the time you deserve. Right? That's my brain. I gave you the time you deserve. Now it's my turn to take control again. So now you're going to do the way I want to do this. So we're going to move forward this way. And that's proven very effective for me in those lulls and in those times where I'm struggling, that it's like, okay, I'll give it the time it needs rather than fighting it, because we can't always put on a face, right? It needs that attention, and it needs it. And sometimes I think our brain just likes it. It's like, hey, let me just do this, right? I want to break something right now.
Like you said, it's a part of you.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's I forget like which school of psychology this is from, but like, have you ever heard the concept of the shadow and like doing shadow work?
Oh yes.
So I think there's a lot in what you said there that could be related to that, in that like it is a part of you. So to try to completely suppress it, and not even kind of have no acceptance of the fact that it is a part of you, that's probably not actually going to be an effective way of dealing with it, because it is a part of you.
No, yeah, exactly. And then I find that that's where a lot of addiction comes out of, is when we're suppressing constantly.
Yeah.
Then you're like, you need something. So it's like, well, I'll have a drink to calm this demon down, or I'll do whatever it is, the substance or whatever it is, right?
So I have a demon, and it has a name. Right, and I don't think I've ever actually told anyone about this other than my wife. Right, so here's me being vulnerable in reciprocation. My demon's called the accuser, and the reason it's got that name is because that's what it does, and it's in there, and it comes out all the time, every day, multiple times per day, and it accuses me of being a bad person. Letting down the people who are in my life, whether it's my family, whether it's my wife, whether it's, others who are relying on me. It accuses me of being selfish, right? Doing things for selfish reasons, even if like that's completely untrue. It manipulates me into a pity party, right? Like just to use that term that you said, and it's been a huge source of negativity in my life, and it's been a huge source of negativity in my relationships, and it's only over the last few years that I've come to even start to understand it, but then tame it, right? This principle that you just shared there about like giving it time, I'm going to put that to use. And so I really appreciate you sharing that with me, because I think that would actually complement very well another technique that I use, which is to be open and communicative, and it's mostly just to my wife, about what's actually going on, right? So, and sometimes I kind of feel like it takes a lot of courage for me to do it. But just to give you like a complete like mundane scenario of how it happens, right? And I'm going to ignore the trigger to stop talking, right? Because I really want to get into it. So here's just a totally mundane example of how this plays out, right? So let's say in the morning I get up and I'm getting ready for work, and like the garbage is full, and I'm like, I should take that garbage out, right? But I'm busy, and I feel like I don't have time, so then I go out and I don't do the garbage. My wife is going to then notice that I didn't do the garbage, which is kind of my job, like for whatever reason. And so then we'll go about our day. I'll be at work, she'll be at work, and then she'll come home and she'll have like a deadpan look on her face, or maybe like an irritated demeanor or something like that. So instantly my accuser comes out and says, see, like the fact that you didn't take out that garbage is completely, irritated your wife to the point where like she really feels that you're not picking up, you're not holding up your end of the bargain with like the household responsibilities, right? And she's got a right to feel that way. Like, you're a no good piece of shit, right? And that's what it tells me. But then something else weird happens, right? Which is that the other part of me goes, well, hold on a second. No, she's not really, within reasonable rights to think that way, because I am also really busy and I had a busy morning. And so like the fact that she's pissed off at me for leaving the garbage, that's actually not fair. So then I'm actually directing some resentment towards her for feeling that way. Right, and then the accuser is then feeding more negativity, and I get into this like mindset. Right now, what actually happened was she had a rough day at work, or someone cut her off on the way home, and that's the reason why she had a look of irritation on her face. This whole thing about me not doing something and letting her down, and this accuser kind of like spinning this in my brain, that doesn't actually exist anywhere in the real world. It's all only in my head, but I just get so caught up in it that not only does it affect my mood, but it affects the way that I'm actually communicating with my wife, and even just the energy that I'm giving off. So then that actually does cause her to be irritated with me. So then that feeds my sense of indignation that, no, she shouldn't be irritated at me. And it goes in this like ridiculous spiral. So one of the things that I've started to, well, it's been going for a good few years now, is to actually recognize that. And I actually say to my wife, I just want to let you know that that voice inside my head is telling me that you are irritated with me because I didn't do the garbage. Now, I know that that's probably not true. And she's like, no, it's not. I didn't even notice that you didn't do the garbage. And I'm like, I understand that, but I'm just telling you that's the reason, that's what's going on in my mind. And that's, if you pick up some negative energy from me, that's the reason why. I didn't want you to start wondering, well, why am I giving off that negative energy? I wanted you to be clear on that, right? And sometimes that is enough to kind of like get me out of that negative mindset, but very often it's not. And it's like, the way that I would describe it is I have a very difficult time with emotional regulation. So even though I understand exactly what is going on in the real world, my emotions don't follow that, don't match that. So I'm still feeling the sense of shame that I didn't take the garbage out, the sense of indignation that my wife is irritated, towards me, even though I know that that's actually not what's going on.
Yeah.
So by communicating that, it's made such a difference in our relationship and our ability to like be in tune with each other. But then the piece that I'm going to add to it is to try to actually give it time and to consciously and presently give it time and say, okay, you want to make me feel bad. You want to tell me this story. You want to, kind of point out these things that, go ahead and just give it time.
Absolutely. I remember when I was like really mentally ill, we would have like my wife did everything. She talked to my parents. She was going to leave me. Like there was like I was a useless case. And when we got through this together, we created a thing. So we have this blue couch that we bought. It just sits in our dining room area. And so we call it Blue Couch Talk. So every single solitary week, it's another non-negotiable. We sit down and we literally just have a conversation. It's literally like, so at work, like you have a business, you want to grow your business. What do? You have business meetings. Hey guys, this is where we're taking the team. Why don't we do that at home? Right. So my wife and I go, okay, we're having a business meeting. It's nothing about business. It's how we run our house.
Right.
Right. So we sit down. It's called our Blue Couch Talk.
And it has to be on the blue couch.
It's kind of like it's like your boardroom table. Right. So we sit down on the blue couch, and then literally the first thing is, how can I show up for you this week? What is your struggles? Where are you like hurting right now? So my wife's usually the same complaint. It's like, oh, lunch are killing me for the kids. Okay, how can I do that? Let's look at our schedules real quick. Maybe I can take 3 of those away. They like her lunches better, so she'll do more of them. But let me take some of those away from you, right? But we'll get right down to the nitty gritty. Like, is it sexual? Something bugging you or bugging me? Is it like something around the house? Another one my wife brought up to me. She's like, man, she plays volleyball Tuesday nights. So when she comes home, she takes out the garbage to the curb. She's like, I hate doing it, and I'm like, oh my God, like, why didn't you tell me last Blue Couch Talk, right? I can do that, no problem. I'll put it in my phone, and then I'll come up with things. And it seems to switch week by week because 1 week I'll take responsibility for some lunches, and then she turns around, she's like, I miss doing it. She's like, I love doing it every day, and the kids love my lunches. Right. So now she'll do it again for another 3 or 4 weeks, and then that next Blue Couch Monday will come up, and she says, you know what, they're really bothering me again, so I'll step in, right? And then there's certain things like, I'll come up with things that like, I'm struggling here, I need help. And we create a support group for each other. Right. And so one thing we've tried to implement is we can't bring it up until Monday. So if it bothers you, like right now, like, so if that garbage was an actual deal, put it in your notes on your iPhone or whatever you have, and then we'll bring it up on Monday. So
we'll put it on the agenda for the Blue Couch meeting.
So what ends up happening is when you bring it up on the Blue Couch, it actually wasn't a big deal at all.
Right, because you're not caught up in the emotion that was, kind of in that particular moment.
Yeah. So she'll say to me, like, I'll use your instance. She'll say, hey, last Tuesday, there was this stupid little thing with the garbage. It did kind of bother me. It's not a big deal now, but guess what that just did? It made me conscious of it. Right. So the next time I go to look at the garbage, it's like, oh, maybe I'll help her out.
You know what I think is something that's a really beautiful part of that I'm observing is the acceptance of change and the acceptance, that sometimes we're going to contradict ourselves. Sometimes we're going to be feeling one way one week and another way the other week. When you said like the lunches, like it almost goes back and forth. If you did not have that healthy communication, that could be like just another one of those little things that causes irritation. It's like, she can't even make her mind. Does she want to do the lunches? Does she want me to do them? Like, what the hell? I can't win. And it almost becomes a meme, right? So that there's like, there's so many memes. There's so many, and it's like this whole thing about like, the ball and chain, right? Oh my God, I have to go home to the wife now, and like, oh, the wife's gone away for the weekend, woohoo! Right? I don't have that at all, and it sounds like you don't have it either. I'm actually the opposite. I'm like, am I actually gonna be able to not lose my mind if my wife is going away, leaving me in home by myself? But no, the acceptance of the changing dynamics of the relationship, and then of your, each of you and your individual experience. It's the acceptance of that is amazing, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
So this is a real estate podcast, right? Yep. So I guess we'll just spend maybe the last 5 minutes talking about real estate, and then we'll wrap it up. So with all of this experience, this journey that you've been on, and the way that you've come out of essentially rock bottom and built a new life for yourself and built a new, strength of relationship with your wife. What would you say are, some of the ways that you are now using that to build your real estate career, but also to actually provide an amazing service to your clients?
So one, I understand communication better than most people now, for sure. So I'm very aware of emotional intelligence and communication. And I think real estate is an emotional experience for 90% of people. So if, we deal with mostly residential properties, people are emotionally moving up in the ladder. They're getting a bigger home, or they're growing family, or they're downsizing, or they're losing their home. They can't afford it, or whatever the case is. So whether it's a positive emotion or a negative emotion, there is an emotion. And when you've mastered your own emotions, I can't be there for my kids if I can't be there for myself.
Right.
How can I be there for a client if I can't be there for myself? Every realtor can come in and say, hey, I'm going to market your house. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Right. So the 1% of realtors, our company's top 1%, along with many others, all the top 1%ers are doing generally the same thing. One person's going to clean your windows. The next one's going to have somebody come clean your home. We're all doing the same marketing. We're all doing the same thing to get you the results.
The nuts and bolts of the process.
The same thing. One's a little bit different than the other one, right?
Yeah.
But we're all going to sell your house, and we're all going to sell it pretty similar. So how can you set that apart? And this is where I'm so excited, and why I'm seeing results so fast. Our Google reviews are going crazy and the referrals are insane, is I know how to show up for the client. I understand emotion. I understand how to be compassionate, coming from super spiritual person, meditating in Buddhist monasteries. That's all Buddhism is compassion, right? It's not a religion. It's just spiritual. So I understand how to radiate compassion for people. And it would be my strongest quality. So not only are we going to offer all of these services to market your property and take all the pain points away from you, we're going to be compassionate for you through this process and show up for you. You're going to get those phone calls and those emails when you deserve them. We're going to touch you constantly in a way that you're like, man, I just remember going, why hasn't our agent called us yet? What's going on? That's not going to happen to our clients, and it doesn't happen to our clients. We make sure that you are just informed every step of the way. Yeah, it's a lot of work. And as we build more systems, other people will be making those phone calls to assist us, but you're going to get that phone call. It's not going to be forgotten about. You're going to get that email, and we're going to do things that offer you ways to make your life easier. I don't want you to go rent a U-Haul. We have a truck for you. Here, use this. It's free. I don't want anything. Just fill it up with gas. Just make sure you don't break it, right? Like, we're taking everything away from you to make your life difficult, and it's putting the people first. I learned this in growing business. That's all that matters. If you're focused on, I need this GCI, I need to make all this money. Yeah, 15 million in 4 months. That's amazing. Sure. That's just a number. That's just a number. The number is based on the experience that I gave my clients. Yeah. And that number is going to continue to grow, and it already is. I'm making I don't care about records, but I don't know what the records are for, first year agents, but I'm going to be smashing them this year. Again, I don't care about that. The only reason I'm smashing them is because I'm offering an experience to people that aligns with them, that's compassionate towards them, and getting them the results, right?
So even I'm sure in some cases you would get a better result for the sale of their home. In some cases, it might be a similar result to what another real estate agent would get in terms of the data. But it's it's their life experience, it's their reality over that period of time where they're going through that. That you are going to improve that exponentially. In contrast to if they were just left to figure it out themselves and to wonder what was going on and have to go and rent the U-Haul and have to, kind of arrange for someone to come and clean it and have to chase you to, kind of give them something that they need. And I'm sure for a lot of people, that's actually worth so much more than like an extra few $1,000s on the sale price.
100%. Well, yeah, like I said, you're going to get, it's going to be within, any 1% is going to get, the number's going to be within because the marketing is going to be on point, right? Yeah. As long as you're using AI, as long as you're using modern technology, you're using all the advancements and getting things out there. Social media is selling, I believe the stats are 62% of houses now over people going direct to like realtor. So you need to be in front of people.
What is that exactly? Like,
so the last stat that I heard was 62%. It's more on social media than it is people going direct to realtor.
Right.
Social media will include like House Sigma or Zillow. People will go there, but it's being like people aren't looking on realtor anymore. That's not happening, right? But I remember. So I just did this for my client. They were moving. They were from condo in Toronto. They were moving to Whitby, and they were like, okay. We're starting a family. We got a dog. All they told me, I need a fenced backyard and I want a 3-bedroom house, and a garage. That would be my bucket list. Make that happen. So what did I do? I sat down with them. I said, hey man, that's fantastic. I've been in your shoes. And guess what happened? My agent actually brought me to an area where everybody in the neighborhood was 65 plus. We had no friends and we sold that house in a year.
Right.
And they were like, oh. And I said, so what do you do for fun? So are you commuting for work? Well, is it better if we situate you closer to the 407 or to the 401? Your future child, do you think you'll put them in soccer or baseball? What do you like to do? Do you like to go to see live music? Like I go real in depth. Right. And when we went to find them a house, we found 3 properties that they liked. And they honed in on one. And, rather than just putting my paycheck first and going, all right, wicked, they're going to buy this house. I'm getting paid. Here's my commission. Woohoo.
Yeah, on to the next client.
I went and door knocked that neighborhood. And I knocked the doors. I went 10 each direction around the house. And I just said, hey, is there any young children that live on the street? How long have you been here? Do you recommend the street? I've got a young family considering moving in here. What do you think about this, right? That family was of a certain ethnicity. So I even asked, is this a multicultural street? Do you think that they'll feel welcome? And I wanted to hit all of these. And guess what happened? They bought the house. Man, I had the neighbors next door come over and bring over a pie and introduce themselves. Wow. Why do you think they did that? Right. Because I let them know there's a young family coming in. I made them aware. I went above and beyond, and I wish our agent did that for us. How long? Let's be honest, man. Would that take me an hour? Yeah. I can't give my client an extra hour, then I'm in the wrong business, right? This is a relationship building business, not a transactional business. So let's build relationships, right?
Yeah.
And that's what sets us apart.
Yeah. And the compassionate way that you take care of your clients is then it's just aligned with the other values with which you live in your life. And, it's just a positive upward spiral, and it's inspiring to hear about, man. And
thank you.
It's no surprise that you guys are killing it. And I guess this is just the beginning.
Yeah. Big things to come. We're excited.
Cool. Well, thanks for a fantastic conversation, Mark. I really appreciate it, man, and for sharing so vulnerably. And I look forward to seeing the next things that are happening for you. I'm excited for you, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Cheers.